Well, we've got a very strange circumstance here today, Charles.
Okay.
It's a new version of the broadcast software, and they have eliminated the ability for me to do selfie mode, so I guess maybe some people will like that, but we're going to be looking that way the whole show.
So they're not going to be looking at us. So we don't have to worry about that.
No, they're not going to be looking at us. But I guess let's just that is so annoying.
So we're here in Washington Square Park, and I don't know whether these people on skateboards are school age or not. But I tell you what, they are flunking out of the game of life. I mean, to be messing around on this very hard pavement directly next to signs that say no wheeled objects in the park, en masse, out of control, jumping, falling, with no helmet, no nothing, and no regard for what happens when they lose control of the skateboard.
Right, I don't care about the no helmet. There's an empty shell inside that noggin. But I want to show you the most dangerous aspect of this. These guys are recycling their stunts down this skinny little pinch point here.
Let's not get in an altercation with them.
And they're flipping skateboards around over there,
right,
almost crashing into people, really creating a risk. I don't know if you realize this, Charles, but we are in the public health capital of the world.
Yeah, right.
According to Bill de Blasio.
Public death capital at this stage.
Now, Charles, today we're going to be on the Super Techno.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Am I going to be upside down or right side up?
Well, it's the camera that's going to be on there. I'm trying to see if I recognize anybody here.
So how much would that equipment actually cost to buy?
Oh, to buy? I don't think you can buy it. I think you can only rent it. Panavision usually rents them. And I mean, you know, when I've rented it, it's about $10,000 a day. You need special operators and stuff like that.
10,000 just the rent, and then the cost of the operators beyond that, or?
It's usually, to get a techno crane on set, $10,000 for the equipment, the operators.
And the operator.
Yeah, I mean, that doesn't include camera or any of the other regular stuff that you would have. That's just to put your camera on there.
Yeah.
And then there's a truck driving it. There's a lot of stuff. You see, it's a huge thing.
So when did Washington Square Park become the main street in the Crowdsource, the Market Street? I mean, look at this.
I don't know.
You got, you know, this is a nice thing. If you didn't notice it, you could trip on it. That's the cord, I think, that goes to that crane.
Well, this is part of being the capital of public health, is leaving the garbage out.
Right. So you have the pigeons, which are basically flying rats, everywhere, picking up the food that people throw all over the matted lawn that's falling apart because people are peeing on it. And then you have all these vendors here selling, you know, this and that brand of junk, not paying taxes, probably selling weed and other drugs.
Actually, I haven't seen anybody. Oh no, maybe that guy is selling
I think
weed.
he is, yeah.
Right, people are just openly selling weed.
Yeah, this is progress, or smoking it, or both.
I mean, listen, I think weed should be legal. We've spoken about it many times, but the point is, when they allow the park to deteriorate to the point that people can do whatever the hell they want, that can go in a lot of directions that we don't want it to go in very quickly.
Well, yeah, because I mean, it is a pain in the ass, especially if you have children, young children who are bouncing off the apartment wall, and you want to take them to the park. And little kids, I learned the hard way, run very, very fast by about age 5.
Right.
So that you'll eventually catch up to them, but they can get in a lot of trouble picking things up that are dirty or filthy or toxic or worse.
Right. It's going to put it in their mouth no matter what it is.
It's the first thing they start doing at around age 2 and 3. Everything goes in their mouth. So
like a dog.
This way? Or?
That way usually dings the signal.
Right.
And one other thing we should let everybody know about, Charles, is that today we have decided not to be in the First Amendment forum because
we don't have one.
Well,
there's no First Amendment anymore.
Exactly. But people can watch on rumble.com/user/CS the truth. But we decided to do that today because we are now fully in autumn here in New York City, and it is really kind of the nicest time of the year. So wanted to have an opportunity to enjoy the last few nice days. And the truth is, you know, we can do First Amendment forum any time we want, Sunday, Wednesday, in the apartment, whatever. But today we're closing in.
All right, we'll close in. Let's see if that sign is here. Yeah, there it is. And what does this sign say right here about rules prohibit?
Skateboarding right there.
Littering, smoking, barbecuing, open flame, consumption of alcohol, amplified sound, vending, demonstrations, obstructing. Right? I mean,
well, but then right here, it's telling you specifically no skateboarding, bicycling, or scooter riding.
Right, and I guess you go into the mode when you walk by this, as you like Joe Biden. You know, they say a court tosses something out, you can't do X, Y, and Z, so we'll just write a regulation.
Yeah.
Right. You know, the sign may say that, but what is the sign going to? How's the sign going to stop me from skateboarding as I skateboard by it?
I know, it's ridiculous.
Do you want to walk down here and then over and then?
Sure.
Yeah.
I'm sad that we don't have the wide-angle lens today, but I'll rectify that for our next show. I also want to say, there's a lot of people, Charles, who don't quite get it. They keep asking why I won't do the First Amendment forum on Rumble, and it's a simple reason. Although I do like Rumble, we have no reason to believe that they aren't preparing to do the same exact thing that YouTube did. You know, Rumble recently introduced a 3-strike system. Right. And they have all these rules about if you violate them. I mean, I don't want them to not have rules, and I do want people to be protected from those who might violate privacy, copyrights, etc. But the point is, I'm not really interested in investing the next 2, 3, 5 years in building up a platform that, once it gains popularity and power,
can be taken away.
Is very likely to do exactly what YouTube has been doing. So I still encourage people to join us on the platform that I am building on subscribestar.com/crowdsourcethetruth and patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth. And truthfully, Charles, the most resilient platform is Subscribestar, because that allows me to deliver videos from the Crowdsource the Truth server. And also, they're located outside the United States, so they can't be agitated by morons with fake lawsuits that easily. And
so you said.
I'm in fairly regular contact with the CEO of Subscribestar, and he is a big supporter of the First Amendment.
That's good.
And fighting totalitarianism. So I hope that people will support us on Subscribestar.
Me too.
And today we're making the show available to everybody on Rumble and YouTube and everything. So we're talking about Biden's billions. It's actually Biden's trillions.
Well, I love the way I sent you a video actually that was from my friend. We won't say his name, down in the Bahamas, and it's a video of an English guy saying, you know, I agree, everything is bigger and badder in America. Here in England, we have the village idiot roaming around a park. Right. In America, you have the village idiot in the White House, or at least pretending to be in the White House. And at this stage, many people are mocking Biden for the comment, which apparently he doubled and tripled down on today, that this $3.5 trillion thing is not going to cost any money because it's paid for.
How? What's his even explanation for that?
It's absurd. Now look, here are a whole bunch more trucks.
Yeah, they obviously have
including
a
one
production
heading for you.
Coming together. Yeah, you can definitely park there. I think
That'll
you'll fit.
fit.
You're not blocking the crosswalk.
That won't block the box. But look at the number of trucks. I mean, this must be some.
It's a major
big
production
to require that many trucks. So back on the fundamental. There's several things that you learn at Harvard Business School or any business school or any finance class, and one of the simplest ones is you should never combine the investment decision and the finance decision. In other words,
with alcohol.
No, just at all. You shouldn't put the two of them together.
Investment decisions with financial decisions, did you
with
say?
The finance decision. In other words, you don't go to somebody and say, hey, Jason, how'd you like to buy this car over here for $38,000? And you say, I don't have $38,000. And I say, I'll give you the money. That's combining the two.
Well, it definitely sounds like a trick.
Right. Especially when they, oh, that's nice.
Is that dead?
I don't think, that parrot is dead.
No, it's resting.
Well, we should get away from
another Haddad truck.
Yeah, they're all over the place. And who is this Haddad guy? He must be making a ton of money. I see
trailer.
this. Well, now that we're back in business in the village, there's so many nice parts of the village that, as you know, well, having lived here for so long, there's a lot of productions of TV and maybe movies and other things. But I see these Haddad trucks everywhere.
That woman had a badge, but I couldn't read what it said on there. And it would be a code name for a major production
Well,
anyway.
it says here what the production is.
It would be a code name, very probably.
Woo-hoo.
Woo-hoo. Yeah, that's a code
That's the
name.
story of Joe Biden's life. Woo-hoo. Or it should be boo-hoo.
A24 Pictures
Feature
and
film.
Apple. Yeah, that's not going to be the title of it, but that's the code. So that people don't, they used to give us the script for Spider-Man. It was called like,
Bonzo.
no, it was called like Charlotte's Tale or something like that.
Oh, I see, to make sure that it doesn't leak out. But so just to finish this idea, you think about, do you really want to spend $3.5 trillion on the effort in question? And you decide, do I want to spend $38,000 on that car? Forget about how I finance it.
Right.
Whether it's writing a check, borrowing money, getting a gift. Do I want the $38,000 expenditure, yes or no? For the President of the United States to insert himself into the debate now and say, no, this doesn't cost anything because we'll get the money to pay for it.
From where?
He's out of his ass.
Oh, perfect.
I mean, it's just, or from Hunter. So he's not worried because, the way I'll just call up Hunter. He'll get the money. But it is so irresponsible. Yeah, I like that. Now I'm getting bad with names. There's a lady on Fox a lot on the 6 o'clock panel. And she's very, very funny. She's been in a very, very...
It's kind of like a southern accent.
That's Dagan McDowell, I think. She's also very funny. But no, this is the one. The name will come to me in a second, or a minute maybe. But Brett, now at the end of the 6 o'clock hour, asked the panelists to guess what tomorrow's headlines will be. And she said, well, before I start, I just have to let my husband know that I'm going to go on a major shopping spree tonight, but don't worry, he's going to pay for it, so it won't cost any money.
That's exactly it.
Yeah.
Of course it's going to cost money. Nothing costs no money.
Yeah, and so, but also to say that we take that approach with $3.5 trillion. I mean, Biden has lived his entire disgusting and corrupt life in this way, not really worrying what anything costs because some supporter will give some member of his family the money and it'll get leaked back to him to pay for the expenses or the expenditures.
Well, only 10%.
Well, but the point is that's no way, that's no good, that's a horrible example to hold out to a nation that has this much debt as we do, which is massive. Careful. Now that's interesting. This has always been a small Gristedes, but it's out, looks like.
Yep. Oh, and you know what? When I was walking over to the park, Vidal Sassoon on like 18th or whatever in 5th Avenue is out of business. That's like their academy or their salon or something. I was kind of surprised. That's a major brand.
Stay away from that.
This is part of the capital of public health. That's very healthy.
Right.
That's
sort of like
carrot
this.
juice, Charles.
Yeah. Or it's like I was thinking as I walked, I'm not going to say exactly where I live, but I walked out the front door to see this older woman with a gigantic fucking dog, and I mean a huge dog, on, I think up on the side, peeing, and it was like a fire hose.
Wow.
On this co-op building.
What are you feeding that thing?
I know, but just sitting there. So you look at that, and you say, I'm not worried about that. Dogs and animals perhaps can spread COVID. I'm not worried about a big-ass dog leaking all over a building. But wear a mask.
Right. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Who knows? Anything we say could potentially be cannon fodder for YouTube.
Yeah,
but
I'm sorry.
whatever. We're just going to do it. No, it's okay.
Yeah, that's not
loud.
a cool car. That's an old car.
240SX, very old. Like, I remember one of the most popular girls in my high school had that. So 1986, that was
a
thing, yeah.
A thing back then, 34 years ago? 36 years.
Many years ago.
Yeah, wow. So here we are, we're headed over, I think we'll go to the Bowery.
What is Great Jones Distilling Company?
Well,
Is that new?
I have never seen it before.
We're not on Great Jones Street. Oh yeah,
There
I guess
we
we
are.
are.
So this, in the late 60s and early 70s and early 80s, this area was pretty much derelict.
Smells like McDonald's.
Oh, it's near here.
They should make them install a Krispy Kreme ionizer.
Or Krispy Kreme truck. So,
Check it out, Charles.
oh, some kicks. Time
Well,
for some new
old
kicks.
school Air Jordans. You could get shot for these back in the day.
Is that right? I don't. Look at this price.
That's-
$325.
How much is it?
Brand new Air Jordan Retro 6, $325.
Oh, maybe those. I was gonna say I had those sneakers in high school. So
Were
it's
you
like,
on the basketball team?
No, but you could wear those with your parachute pants, and it was 1986, and then you could try to get a ride in the 240 SX.
No, seriously, if you took an 18-year-old and you said, listen, let's get you a pair of sneakers for $50,
Right.
and we'll take $275 and we'll put it in an investment account that you're not going to touch
Right.
at, say, starting at age 13, and let's say you buy sneakers 4 times a year. I don't know how many times
You'd probably be a millionaire by
Well,
the
you-
time you went to college.
You'd not by college, but by the time you were 45 or 50, you'd have a substantial net worth. You
Huh.
know, if you got into that business, and it is just, I mean, beyond stupid that the professional basketball players who must know how hard it was for them to get to the top of the professional basketball heap. I mean, you see these people, any sport, the difference between, you know, in the final with Djokovic, I don't know if you watch it, tennis, and Medvedev, who beat him. Djokovic, who had won.
Is Medvedev related to that guy who was president?
I think it's kind of like saying, is Smith related to Smith in Russia? I could be wrong about that, but I mean, I believe it's a reasonably common name. Here we are at, this, you know, Lafayette. This is Lafayette Street, I guess. I can't remember whether it's Avenue or Street, but I propose we go over to the Bowery, which is where Joe Biden should be living, on the street.
Yeah.
And it's where we will all be living if we follow this ruinous Pelosi, Biden, Clinton, Obama, Bush project to pretend that borrowing more money in 2021 to throw it at stupid ass projects worldwide makes any sense.
Yeah, I'm pretty confused by this concept of constantly raising the debt ceiling and acting like that's something good to do. I feel like that's like looking at your credit card bill and it says you have a $15,000 limit and you need to pay it, and you're like, well, gee, instead of getting $15,000, let me just increase the limit to $30,000 and get more debt on there.
Well, this may sound like a crazy idea, or it may sound like it makes sense. To me, it makes sense that in finance, everything's relative. So you're sitting there, there's a big pile of wealth around. It's concentrated in a very small number of hands. You think incomes are unequal, wealth is really unequal. And so the pile of wealth on the planet is gigantic in relation to, the pile of wealth includes some debt. You know, the wealthy people own debt, right? So they don't want to see you default on the debt they own. But the net of it all is there still is, with all this waste, a tremendous amount of wealth. And if you look around the various places where you might, what?
NWO is what it looks like that thing says, and this is the
Where do you
Eric
see?
Firestone Gallery. All that on the wall looks like NW, and then this is an O. But who is Eric Firestone? Because that guy leaving looked a little bit like Harvey Firestone.
Firestein, isn't it?
Oh,
Firestone is
And it wasn't him.
next to a fire hydrant.
tire guy.
Fire department. What's for dinner, guys? This is, I think, quite an old MD.
It's 33,
Where do you see that?
right there.
Huh. But it's supposed Hugh Bonner, chief of department, but it was 1898 that this building was put up, it looks like.
Why did they spell Hugh with a V?
It's old fashioned. That's the way they did it in Latin.
Just look at that. Somebody just
Nice
dropped
stuff.
the fire pants. Oh, I think they're there so you could put them on quickly in the event of a fire. And then,
Yeah.
what is that thing? Is that for shouting into?
I mean,
This is quite a building. Look, and it's got the 33 up in the wrought iron there.
It'd be a cool. I think Anderson Cooper lives in a fire station that's down the way. I'm not
I
going to.
believe that's correct.
I'm not going to out his address because I don't believe in doing that. But this, if I had to live in New York City, which I soon will not have to do,
Right.
I wouldn't mind living in one or more apartments like this. I mean,
Space for
relatively
rent.
quiet. I bet you those apartments have nice high ceilings, interesting layouts. And I think you're reasonably safe over here. Now, back when I was a kid, you just didn't go to the Bowery at night. That was crazy
Well,
stuff.
I mean, I told you this, but I haven't really. I did a tweet about it, but there was a shooting right outside my apartment last night. The cops were there for hours investigating, and I haven't seen a thing about it on the news. Did you hear anything about a shooting
I
on
did
25th
not.
Street?
I did not at all.
Why are they not reporting that? And if they're not reporting that, how many shootings are happening that we aren't hearing about?
I'm sure that a lot. I see that's across the street, a brand new building.
Where?
That one.
Oh,
This one here. I'm pretty certain, Jason, I don't know if I think I was walking with my brother. You see where those two people are sitting right now? Across the street? Door open, the person in green just behind them, there's two people sitting there. I was walking past the 7-Eleven and I see, this is maybe a year and a half ago, I see the door, somebody come out, I think from 353 there, and go around the corner and start yelling at somebody. And the person they were yelling at was a homeless person who had hiked his body up, taken it.
here's 33.
Coming back home. Safe and sound. He'd hiked it, the homeless guy, at around this time of day, on a Saturday, had hiked his body up, hiked his pants down, and was taking a mammoth dump on the building.
Nice.
Well,
sweet green became sweet brown at
it
that
did
moment.
very quickly. So do you want to stay in the shade or do you want to be on the sun?
I don't mind. Yeah, it's
Shade, maybe?
I'm enjoying the sun, but
Well, I'm just for
shade
the
is always
camera.
good. Right. Well, I've got the fan going, and I think it's not too hot. It's really some of the most pleasant weather you could ask for right now.
A lemon.
Yeah, so students of New York City history will know that the Bowery was really derelict. I mean, it was in the 60s. It was the old-fashioned alcoholic, wino, hobos, etc.
Bowery bum was
The
what
Bowery bums, exactly. I
was
think
the thing.
long ago, isn't Bowery in Dutch, doesn't that mean garden?
Well, I don't know.
I think it may have been
What is that an ad for?
breast milk pumping. When you're breastfeeding your kids. Now, we're going
Why
to
would
walk
you
by.
advertise that here?
I don't know. Why would you advertise on Fox News? I mean, the number of ads they have the one ad now is called Colace, which is a stool softener.
Oh, nice.
And they have a graphic picture of, how this undoes the blockage, on
God.
and on and on. You're trying to watch the news. You go from that to I can't forget which quarterback it is, talking about his Dupuytren's contracture, which, it's a serious problem. Your hand goes all funny. And they show his hand, and then it's fixed, and he's throwing a
Is
football.
that Terry?
Not Terry Bradshaw. He's got his own new show, the Bradshaw Gang or something.
He's pretty funny. Was
He is
in,
actually funny, yeah.
Cannonball Run.
Oh, he's very earthy, shall we say. Now you see this architecture here to your right. I think that has something to do. The crazy building over there has something to do with
Barry Diller.
Cooper Union. Cooper Union dead ahead of you. Remember, Cooper Union. Did you apply there? Is it?
No.
Because
I gave a talk there about 3D stuff one time.
That's pretty cool. Well, Cooper Union used to be free if you got in.
Right, and they blew it. That was Peter
Epstein's-
Cooper's whole thing.
It was Epstein's brother who did that. And I wouldn't be at all surprised that when if we ever find out what happened to Epstein and his money, or how did he get his money, it would not shock me that the Epstein brothers may have stolen it from the endowment. See that Grace over there? I wouldn't mind walking by it because that's the Grace
Grace?
Church, the blue flag.
Uh-huh.
That's
Yeah.
That's Grace Church High School.
Huh. I didn't know that.
Yeah, when I was there, it only went up to 8th grade, but then more recently, I think this whole building, this sort of cream colored building,
Oh, yeah.
is all Grace. And if we
Yeah, let's check it out. And then we
They
can
certainly
see
won't let us in. But
No, that's all right. Oh, you know, Charles, I spoke to a friend of mine who's a flight attendant on United Airlines because I saw that article that said United is firing people who
aren't
refuse
vaccinated.
to do that thing that they're trying to force people to do.
uh-huh.
And so my friend said she had to get it, and she was really upset.
Well, you did see that Joe was supposed to go to Chicago and he
I
canceled
know, and
the
he
trip.
canceled.
We don't know why. Now,
Well,
here's-
I'm sure that was totally.
now, if you're sitting here in the middle of a COVID crisis, a pandemic,
No, it's the public health
and
capital.
and you have this garbage here, and then you have this gaggle. I don't know if it was like this in suburbia when you went to high school, but here, you get out of school and you hang out with your friends, right?
Feed on the garbage.
Well, you're next to the garbage, and you've got a home for rats right across the street. You got to believe at night there are mice and rats, and there's garbage here for you to have. And over there, Jason, there's garbage.
Wow, that's a lot. So, Charles, stupid de Blasio, what is that, a water slide built into the front of the building?
No, this is what happens. It's like the Bloomberg building. You know, you're a multi-billionaire or whatever, and you decide, somebody comes to you and says, "Hey, Mike, you know, you really need to leave an imprint on global society. Why don't you do a
More
really
than the gay ice cream.
why don't you do a really special thing in your building? Oh, why don't you hire some crazy set of architects who did some other crazy project, let's say in the UK?" And so Mike says, "Oh, I'll do that." And so he puts up the building there, which used to be, it's right next to, it used to be Alexander's. It's that whole block in there.
Right.
And I will say, as somebody who used to go into the building a lot and go on to events and in the studios and stuff, it is very pleasant and comfortable to be there, and the people who work inside the building seem to be very happy. So maybe it has that, what's that, feng shui or whatever?
Yeah.
Maybe they have some of that going on.
Right.
But they decided that one signature element in the design would be a curved escalator. Now,
Oh, and that probably broke all the time.
no, I've never seen it broken, actually. I think the escalators in Grand Central Station break far more frequently than the curved one. But now this is a school, I don't know how much it costs these days. Last I checked, the elementary school was $50,000 a year after
That's
tax.
really a lot.
Well, that's sticker. So you have to, you put the money
What
in
if you want leather seats and air conditioning?
No, they come to you and they say, well, listen, you know, the real cost of educating a child is more like $65,000,
What?
and we set it up so that you only
Your
pay
kid is
50.
extra stupid. It's going to cost more.
No. This is the line I was told many times. So why we do it this way is that you can deduct the 15. We don't charge you the 65.
Oh, and then you donate?
You
that to
donate,
some-
yeah.
Wow, that sounds like a scam.
I'm not going to say which schools asked me to do that, but multiple schools. Not those precise numbers,
Wow.
but
Who knew?
let's keep walking up this
Yeah.
way if it's okay, and then we'll hang a right on 8th, and we'll go pretty far over on 8th.
Well, what I was starting to tell you, Charles, is that in de Blasio's stupid press conference today, in addition to saying that New York City is he literally said it's the public health capital of the world.
Did he mean to say the murder capital?
I mean, it's the...
You see those stats?
No, what did that say?
The FBI stats came out, and murders in 2020 were 30% up nationwide.
Wow. Not even including last night in front of my building.
Right. So
Well-
what happens at these schools like Grace, unlike Horace Mann, which has its own playing fields, here these kids are obviously on some team, have to get in
they
a bus,
get on the bus.
and then the bus takes them probably to Randall's Island, maybe to Central Park, and they do their thing, and then they come back. It's quite a long day if you're 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th
There
grader.
was some piece of land that NYU bought, I think, in Battery Park or maybe right across the river or something, and they determined that it was an environmental catastrophe, and NYU was fighting to not have to pay the money to clean it up. They just wanted to send people there to do sports
Yeah,
and
you roll around in this
get
dirt.
exposed to the toxic
Yeah.
stuff.
In some black mold, not black gold, black mold. And yeah, so I don't know if these are Grace kids or...
Well, but de Blasio was saying that, you know, we're the public health capital of the world, and he was introducing some kind of new initiative.
Initiative.
Yeah, it was the stupidest thing I could imagine. Like, what is this guy doing? Why aren't they hiring people to collect the garbage twice as frequently, or make some effort to improve the public health situation here in the city before you make a stupid comment like that.
Another stupid comment, yeah. So that's the Black Cube. This is Astor Place here, named after, was it
That
John
guy who
Jacob
died
Astor?
on the Titanic.
Well, before him. I mean, the Astor, the great fur trader who built in Oregon, Astoria.
Oh, I didn't know that. I thought it was the guy who died on the Titanic.
Well, his descendant did, but yeah, well, the original Astor was like a Rockefeller. I mean, he was very, very wealthy. I think they controlled large elements of the fur trade. And back in the day, people wore fur hats, fur coats. Yeah, believe it or not, somebody who married my great-grandmother was in the fur business as well.
Somebody who married your great-grandmother? Why wouldn't you refer to that as your great-grandmother?
Because he was the second.
Got it.
The first guy died, and then I don't know what you'd call it. That's why I danced around it. Very nice man, supposedly. I never met him.
Well, it had to be a long time ago.
It was, and it was interesting. It was in Spokane, Washington. It was called the Spokane Fur Company, and they pride themselves on having very, very stylish cuts, which they learned by coming here to New York each year. And
speaking of stylish, look at these young men.
Yeah, it's nice. Nice, well-dressed young men. That's good.
I guess they're probably coming from Gray School, right?
Right, as this person is not. Probably is the daughter of some billionaires or something, and she's dressed like a bum. But wow, this used to be...
yeah, it's totally crushed.
Didn't that used to be...
It was like
a
restaurants
hot dog or like a papaya stand or something?
Well, I think there was a McDonald's right in there.
There was, Jason. You're absolutely right. I think you go to McDonald's. I think you're a secret McDonald's
I don't go there, I just
coiffeur.
see them. This is, we're walking towards where Tawara Boutique used to be, where Terry got shot. And then years later, I was on jury duty, and I was like, oh, wow, I know the dead guy. And they're like, you got to leave.
Does this mean maybe that's a sign? Let's wait for it to change.
Sure.
Maybe this is a sign, the shooting last night, that you're about to get called for jury duty.
Maybe I'll be on jury duty for that in 10 years.
Oh, no, next week.
I'm jury duty proof.
Are you?
Well, I was disappointed when I got kicked off of that jury. I think I've told you this story. Maybe I haven't told our viewers, but there were a number of very attractive ladies in the jury, and they were describing how we were going to be sequestered, and I was becoming friendly with them and everything.
This is the Seinfeld episode.
I was pretty excited about this jury duty, and then I got kicked off the jury. I was very upset. So then the next time I got jury duty, I said, okay, I'm going to be real careful to not get kicked off. And they asked me, one of the questions they ask is, have you ever been on jury duty before? And I said, yes. And I said, what was the outcome of that? And I said, I knew the dead guy, so they threw me off the jury. And they said, well, you can leave. And I was like, damn it. So then 8 years later, I got on jury duty again. And I said, I won't say anything about knowing the dead guy. And then they said to me, have you been on jury duty before? And I said, yes. And they said, what happened? And I said, well, the prosecutor made an error during jury selection, which resulted in me not being on the jury. And so then the prosecutor said, well, do you think I'm going to make an error? And I said, no, you're a different person. And she said, whatever, you're not on the jury. And I was like, damn it! I'm the only person in New York City who wants to be on jury duty, and I can't get on there.
Do you need a new wig?
Well, that looks a little totally realistic, so...
Yeah. Or a tattoo.
Yeah, I don't know.
Or a body piercing.
Oh, and it's also a bomb store, so it's a convenient one-stop shop.
It's like, combination. Here we have another great student. Combination suntan lotion and umbrella store.
Yeah, I don't know how those places are staying in business.
This street in this area has always been sketchy.
The Wan Yu Cyber Cafe was not able to make it, Charles.
It looks like it's out. Missing Kitty.
I don't know that Cyber Cafe is a very viable business anymore. I think everybody has internet from so many different places. Oh wait, look, here's another barcade. I didn't realize they had a second one.
Well, on the sub, we've seen a few Starbucks walking around. Did you see the Zero Hedge story that I tweeted out, Jason? Show us your back.
Aren't they rubbing it in people's faces if everybody is telling us that the black community is reluctant?
I know.
They are advertising it with a black guy?
I know. It's Apparently in New York City there are now more illegal massage parlors and whorehouses than there are Starbucks.
What?
This is the story, and like the historians, Zero had citing statistics. I find it difficult to imagine how you could reliably count up the number of illegal.
Call them up and be like, "Are you an illegal massage parlor? We're just taking a survey."
Yeah, we just not that you'll get in any trouble. So
yes, can we book an appointment for you?
So this is the liquor store that's owned by the son of. He might even be in the window here. He is.
You know that guy?
Yeah. Let me just say.
Sure.
Hey, we've got our podcast going. You want to say hi to our viewers? We can advertise your show a little bit.
Jackie, hold on 1 second.
Sure. We'll be waiting right here.
What's up?
We're just right outside on air.
How you doing?
But come on, tell us about your store.
Who is this person?
He owns his father owns the liquor store that I use. And he's a really nice guy. He just got married. I think he married a Brazilian.
Smart guy.
Yeah. Meet Jason Goodman, the founder of Crowdsource the Truth.
Nice to meet you.
And great to see you.
Good to see you.
I was
venturing over to this side of town. Huh?
We've been going all over New York, but I was just telling Jason, and I wanted to tell our viewers that this is an enterprising young man, works his ass off. He's got a really tough boss himself.
But if people are downtown in New York, they could visit St. Mark's Liquor and booze it up.
Yes, they can.
Yeah.
Molded from the toughest boss, Dad, right?
Yeah,
all
he's a
these
good man.
years At his store, and this is my baby and my store. So,
Are you getting competition from the Bong store?
we're not getting competition from the box store, fortunately.
Drinkers are not necessarily weed smokers.
No, I think in this side of town they are.
It's a little bit of everything, huh?
A little bit of everything.
But business is good?
Business has picked back up this month. We're in the university side of town,
But
so all the students have come back to school.
But they don't drink because they're not.
No, the college kids in America definitely don't drink.
But joking aside, obviously your family has been in the liquor store business for quite a while. Does the legalization of marijuana in New York City pose any kind of competitive threat?
I don't believe it poses any threat.
But that does.
Hope that, I hope that actually one day it merges and we venture into it.
Sell weed.
Not that I would have an interest in doing that myself, but I see the market for it, especially on this side of town.
Yeah.
Oh,
As
yeah.
you can see across the street.
Well, you can smell it right now.
So,
Are you going to start selling blue wigs, you think? That seems to be a popular item around here
It's
as
a
well.
hot item on St. Mark's, so,
Dude,
let's
you
see
are
what
flanked
happens.
by Bong
Let's
stores.
see what oh yes, that's St. Mark's.
Probably get
for
2
you.
or 3 in there just in case.
But we're the only liquor store on the block, so that's the
That's good.
news. That's the good news. We'll see what happens.
And
know?
you deliver or no?
We do.
So
We do. We deliver.
check it out.
Absolutely.
There you go. Anybody who's around can call up St. Mark's.
Good phone number as well.
Make you laugh quick.
Thank you. Oh, are we going in?
Yeah.
Confiscated fake IDs.
That's
from
pretty
all
good.
the college students around town.
That's
I have
so
many
funny.
more, but this is my small display.
That's funny. So you're the liquor Nazi. No Tito's for you.
No Tito's for you.
And then what? The people just leave?
Yeah, they leave. We have to confiscate them by law if we find out they're fraudulent.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah.
Boy, this is some quality work as far as the fakes go. Huh.
Very good.
This is our small little store on St. Mark's, and we're happy to be here.
I'm sure it'll get
So,
bigger soon.
Thank you for visiting. Thanks for coming by. We appreciate it.
Good
All
to
right.
meet
See you
you.
as always, my friend.
Take
We'll
care.
Good to meet you.
Thanks
Cheers.
very much.
Take care.
See ya.
Nice, Charles. There we go.
Yeah.
Visiting some of the local businesses here.
Yeah, his father worked for a big, a big pharma company and retired, and he always had his eye on this. I don't think his father has been in the liquor business for more than maybe 15 years or so. He bought a liquor store that was there when I moved. I believe it was there when I moved to New York in 1959 as a 3-year-old. I didn't obviously notice. Is that yours?
It just looks like somebody stole the motor out of that motorcycle.
I don't know.
So he bought it in 1953?
No. The store was there. I think it has a feel of a store that might have been there for prior to 1959 when I got there as a 3-year-old. More garbage. I mean, this is really appetizing, right?
Public health capital. You didn't make the cut.
Yeah.
Just a couple schmucks.
But look at all this garbage. I mean, it's just incredible.
I mean, we can't keep our status as the public health capital of the world without the minimum quantity of garbage on the street. Here's more.
Oh yeah.
This is all wheatgrass garbage, so it's
That's
very
right.
healthy.
It's all, I don't know, angel costumes. But this restaurant would appear to be out.
Oh yeah. Well, something's coming soon here.
I think Khyber Pass
Rice
is
hot
gone.
dog. Mochi donut. Egg lab.
What is it?
It's an egg lab with rice hot dogs and mochi donuts.
Yeah.
Sounds like your kind of place, Charles.
Sign me up for never, okay? But seriously, people at night, I bet you they live it there and worse.
Well, as part of the health capital of the world, you need to eat your sandwich off of a stool sample.
After you get a COVID test in the middle of a junkyard.
What are they, blowing glass over here? Wow, the handmade bongs in this store. Oh, this is obviously a premium
Better than coding. Right.
bongier.
Yeah.
How do you say bong in French?
I don't know.
Well, anyway, Charles, so back to Joe Biden and his billions and trillions. No one said anything about him saying that trillionaires did great during the pandemic. If Trump said something like that, they'd be all over it for weeks.
The guy is obviously gone. His mind is, as Trump said long ago, is shot. And we said early on it's elder abuse, and it really is elder abuse, and it's now more than that. I mean, you were mentioning that the psychological abuse that is being perpetrated now on all Americans by this team, that with a straight face can send. I mean, Biden got up there when all of us knew. I'm not a military person, but I understand, having been near Afghanistan. I was in Islamabad, which a long time ago, now nearly 30 years ago, and I made it a rule then, and I continued that you don't fly coach to Islamabad. So I'm in business class.
Wait a minute.
I'm in business class. Well, I was flying from London, and it's not that long.
No chickens in business class, is that the deal?
Well, no. I get out of Islamabad, and they because we're in business class, they put us in a minibus. They drive us to the business class. It wasn't VIP, but tiny little terminal, and then they say, all right, you can leave. And you had to have a visa to go back then to Pakistan. And I go out, and there's a cab, and I'm about to get in the cab, and I said, no, wait a minute. I'm not going to stay in this country with a visa that isn't stamped, entered on a certain date.
Right.
So I said, no. Let's go back, all the way back to customs. I want you're going to stamp my passport, and then we'll go back out and do all that. So it was mayhem in Pakistan, which is a lot better shape than Afghanistan back then.
And there wasn't even a war happening at that time.
Right, and so to think that having been inside that country for 20 odd years, that you're then going to rush for the door beginning in May, and then when people start asking the few tough questions that Bite Me was getting,
Smells great out of there.
yeah, it probably is pretty good, that Bite Me was getting, one of them was, did your experienced military people, did they support this way that you exited? And Biden at the time said absolutely, it was unanimous.
But they are contradicting him like crazy.
Right, I know, but that's, white lie is, Hillary Clinton, honey, do I look fat in the circus tent? And she's got a bottle of Chardonnay ice cold ready to hurl at your head, and somebody next to her to pitch a real pitcher to throw it at you. You might bend the truth a little bit, but on the question of getting up before the American people, and you're asked, did the military say this was a good idea to do? And you stand up there and say, yes, it was unanimous in support. And now everybody's coming out saying, no, I didn't. Milley said, no, I didn't. And all the other people said, no, I didn't.
Has there been any consequence to that, and will there be?
Oh, I'm sure that, I mean, I think it's like anything else, there's a market for everything. And the market for people who believe that Biden is a credible person, I mean, you're looking at the folks who come back out here at 2 o'clock in the morning tonight, and you'll meet those people. They'll be high,
think that
drunk,
Biden is credible.
right.
You know, I actually had an opportunity to speak to somebody who is in college, but not that dialed into, you know, young, not that educated, not that experienced,
Right.
and definitely not that dialed into politics. And the person was asking me, like, what's going on with Joe Biden? She's like, I voted for him, but I didn't know that much about him. He's kind of doing a bad job, right? And I found that very interesting,
That's
because
refreshing.
when lay people who are not engaged in the political process realize that something is going on that's so bad that it attracts their attention like that. And by the way, college is the age where people, you know, this person's thinking about, wait a minute, I'm not able to go to classes.
Right.
What's going to happen to my career? What's happening to my social development? I mean, most of the people who I'm friends with now are people who I met in college.
Well, and you know, how do when you went, I'm not asking whether you had student loans, it's none of my business, but people who had student loans that must now be worried about how the hell they're going to pay them
Right.
off.
No
That
job.
said, a number of the progressives have been promising folks that, oh, don't worry, Biden's just going to forgive all that. I think we should call him President Haydn now.
How can he do that, though? It's not his money to forgive. Like,
He's behaving like a tin pot dictator. Like the Constitution doesn't matter, law, precedent, none of it matters. I mean, he's basically a fucking moron.
he is.
Should we go over to Avenue A, or do you want to go up first?
Sure. Well, we could continue to, what's the park I'm thinking of that used to be crazy with heroin?
Oh,
Tompkins Square.
Tompkins Square. Okay.
That might be nice. We've walked around there a bit. Now, I'm also noticing, Charles, a lot of these restaurants that spent money building these outdoor things, a lot of them are empty. Like perhaps they've gone out of business.
And that's before it gets cold.
Exactly.
Yeah, I don't think that's Tompkins Park over there. I think it's that way.
Don't we run into Tompkins Square Park?
It's,
We just keep
could it be
going?
that way?
I don't know.
There is looks like a park over there. Well, let's just go one more and see what we find.
Just explore the East Village.
We're
here.
heading over to, like, I think it's Avenue A. So you were asking about Biden. So I think it wasn't only Millie and Austin who were humiliated yesterday. It was Biden. I mean, they got up there and they said, listen, we all said that you need to put a minimum of 2,500 troops still there.
Oh, fire damage. No fun at Fun City due to fire damage. Are you guys working at Fun City? So she says no, you guys say yeah, I trust her. Physical graffiti. It's clever. Charles, everybody's got an angle.
Oh, I know.
And
Garbage.
also trash, yeah. That's really bad.
Yeah.
This is the public health capital of the world. Come eat in a decrepit tent next to garbage.
More garbage.
Garbage cupcakes, $2.75. It's a great deal. And they're closed. Millie and
So yeah, they were basically trying to defend themselves, and it was interesting. Even Da Nang Dick Blumenthal, who's a spoiled brat, you know, married or wealthy woman guy, lied about his service in the war. Even he was throwing a lot of shade against Biden and the Biden administration.
so far all these restaurants are empty.
Well, maybe there's a patio in the back.
It looked like they were all sitting around inside that restaurant. So they were still having more congressional hearings. I was watching it for a while. It was
Today,
so damn boring.
That house. The
Yeah.
house.
And so what do you think is going to come of this? I mean, it sort of seems like nothing. What is
This is-
happening here?
This is called art, Jason.
Who wouldn't want to rent this?
Yeah, could you put some extra paint crust on the sidewalk before I rent this thing? I mean, I love the entrance. It's very
For
welcoming.
someone to say the city is back and to not acknowledge
Well, it's
the continuing decline the need for serious attention on many of these problems. More cops, more sanitation workers.
Well, it's, I mean, yesterday the liar-in-chief, the spokesperson for Biden, Jen Psaki,
Oh God!
got up
She's
there
just-
and they were asking questions about the southern border. There's another caravan coming apparently.
Really?
And she actually said, well, somebody said, aren't you concerned about the open border? And she said, no, the border is not open.
Oh.
It's like Baghdad Bob. Oh, there are no American troops in Baghdad, and you got the troops right behind it.
Well, that's literally the exact same tactic as calling this shit pile the capital of public health.
Yeah.
Right. I just almost killed myself tripping down a manhole. But I mean, garbage everywhere.
I mean, it's, what? Garbage is the new black.
What if he said, hey, instead of starting this stupid initiative, which I can't even remember what it is, it was like when he explained it was obviously not the biggest problem. But if he said, you know what we're going to do? We're doubling the size of the sanitation department and garbage will now be picked up twice as frequently, that would at least be moving in the right direction.
No, I think his approach, what we're going to do is we're going to double the size of the sanitation department and have the number of people working,
Right,
and
just
steal
pay
all the
more people.
No, steal the money.
Right.
So yeah, this is Tompkins Park, I think.
Yeah.
Well, let's do a circuit around it because
Yeah.
this is actually it's quite big
It's just a beautiful day. I really
in the neighborhood.
am just super enjoying the sun.
So in this peace and quiet, maybe we should break some Clinton Foundation news.
Sure.
So we were talking yesterday off air about the 22 million missing Bush emails. Now,
Interesting, 22.
yeah, now the story on that is a lot more interesting than I had originally thought yesterday,
Oh, really?
because the period where they were ultimately trying to get the emails was starting in 2003, in January of 2003.
Who was ultimately trying
Well,
to
so
get
what
it?
happened was the Bush administration decided they wanted to fire 8 of the 93 U.S. attorneys. This was in 2004 when the decision to do that began.
Uh-huh.
8 of 93. Now, of course,
Was it unusual at that time for a president to fire any U.S. attorneys?
well, Bill Clinton fired 93.
But Bush was, you talking Bush 1 or Bush 2?
Bush 2.
Ah, okay.
Bush
Right.
Dukes. So they began in 2004. Now, in the middle of 2004. Now, that's precisely when you recall that the investigation, the FBI investigation, IRS and Justice Department matter into the Clinton Foundation. That's precisely when it began to stand down, 2004.
Uh-huh.
Just as the Bush administration amped up and ultimately late in 94, early in 2000, and then late in 4, early in 5, that's precisely when they, let's keep walking quickly here.
Yeah.
Because I'm in the area.
I'm like, let's get
This
out of
is
here.
a rough spot right
Yeah.
here, Charles.
How you doing, gentlemen?
Good, you too? So, let's definitely get out of here. This way. So, they ultimately follow through on firing, and when the Democrats take control of the Senate in, I think it's 2006 or 7, that's when real investigations mounted into why did the Bush administration do the firing. But beyond that, when they started doing their subpoenas and discovery, they discovered, as you and I have discovered, emails back and forth by Karl Rove and other Republicans that were not .gov email addresses.
Uh-huh.
And apparently, when that practice really ramped up was in January of 2003. And January of 2003 is precisely when the Bush administration began the push to go into Iraq.
Wow. So
And-
that's what Hillary was talking about when she said, oh, Colin Powell did it.
I don't know that it's Colin Powell. I think
Well, she said that a lot of people had done it, and she was letting them know, hey, don't push this too hard.
right, exactly right. And so, but the period January 1, 2003, from the Clinton Foundation standpoint, is extremely important because in that period, they began to do all this international work, which was never authorized by the IRS, in theory fighting HIV and AIDS with other people's money. And there was a big announcement in July of 2003 when the Irish government signed up to send more than $100 million over time towards this Clinton Foundation entity that didn't exist. And the emails back and forth in this time frame were either to Ira Magaziner at SJS Advisors, when he was in theory operating a for-profit consulting company, SJS Advisors, and also chairing this Clinton Foundation HIV/AIDS initiative, which didn't exist.
Magaziner was doing that.
Yeah, from the same physical address, 225 Water Street, using
Right,
a variety
outside of Boston there.
using a variety of different email addresses. So the more you tear into what it was the Bushes were doing to break the law, break multiple laws, using private email addresses to hide the formulation of strategy that was really very political against perceived enemies of W. Bush, but being paid for with U.S. government funds, and then defying subpoenas. This is something that the Bush people did very aggressively. And so what happened is, when it was the toing and froing stopped under W. Bush, it was revealed. Maybe let's go around the outside.
Sure.
So it was revealed that their claim was that the emails were missing.
Right.
Then on December 15th or 16th, 2009, once the Obama administration was fully...
Start again. Let's see. I don't know.
There's a very sketchy people right behind us.
Yeah, let's keep walking. Let's see if this is restarted here. We have a new software that doesn't let me use the wide-angle lens, but maybe it's somehow overcome this problem here. Let's see. Are we back?
Yeah, they're across the street. We're good.
I think we're back.
Okay, so as I started to say, January 1, 2003 to year-end 2009 is precisely when the Clinton Foundation was so badly out of control that any sensible IRS commissioner would have
Well,
thrown a lot of people in jail. Comey was not there, it was Mueller,
But
who was head of the
he
FBI.
said no sensible person
Right.
would prosecute.
So, but in this, we're talking now in this very pregnant period. You know, pregnancy for fraud is a lot more than 9 months. It's, you know, many decades, I guess. But
Gestation.
the gestation period, yeah. So, and they're saying they definitely have many mothers and many fathers of charity fraud. So, and it's one major league fuck show. But anyway, January 1st, 2003, right the way through to 2009 is precisely when
Yeah, garbage on the basketball court.
Hey, got it, man.
Well,
They're
it's the
probably
public
dead.
health.
They're probably
the kid's got his face right near the garbage.
There's probably cut up dead bodies in the garbage there, for all we know.
Public health capital of the world, Charles.
I
Welcome
know.
to it.
I know. Right at New York Public Library, 331, right there.
Yeah.
So, nice building, actually. So if I could just
Yes,
try to bring
sorry.
this home. I'm sorry to be so long-winded and take the
No,
time
no,
to do
no.
it. So the Clinton Foundation in 2003 certainly had no authority to do international work, but it progressed anyway through 2006. It handled a lot when they got the money from Unitaid, which I submit likely large portions of that were used to fund Democratic campaigns, including Hillary Clinton's primary effort in 7 and 8, and maybe Obama's general election in 8. So a lot of money went missing in this time frame. Obama gets in. I'm going to guess that they really did not know, the Obama team, how egregiously bad the Clinton behavior had been with charity funds. And so they were presented with the simple choice by the Clintons. You know, you can't rat us out. We're just
Right.
going to have to fix this and blow through it, and you're not going to say boo. And you know, Obama strikes me as nothing but a very proud and arrogant man. Right? He's not a modest man.
Correct.
Everything with him, apparently it's come out in, I don't know if it's Woodward's book, but some book, that in that meeting, the only meeting that Trump had with Obama, with Trump going in, Obama on the way out,
Right.
Trump asked him a fair question. It's a good question, actually. Mr. President, along your 8 years here as president, you've had a lot of complex things to focus on. Is there anything that you regret doing, any mistake you think you've made in 8 years? And Obama said, nope. I mean, yeah, it's
Well,
just.
he's not going to admit that to Trump.
Well, no, I mean,
All right, we'll just try and continue.
We're back?
You really never know where it's going to cut off. Let me just see if we're back. Hard to tell. It takes a few seconds. People say buffering anyone. It's the Wizard of Oz. I don't get it. But let's see if it returns here. Yeah, I think it's back.
So it's very clear to me now, having looked through this, and I haven't really poured through the material. There's a lot of hearing documents and evidence that I've got to look at now, but it's clear to me that when Clinton went in and HW went out, the similar meeting that was held between Bill and George Sr. likely occurred after many weeks, days, months of discussions back and forth, and probably involving John Podesta and others, people like John Podesta. There was a setup, and Clinton agreed not to go after HW as a guest.
Right.
Well,
But that's it. They had a succession of people who were in agreement
Not
to do crimes and not go against each other. And that look on Obama's face when he was taking those pictures with Trump was him saying, "Oh, this guy's not in on this scam."
Right. Yeah, we're not. This guy's not going to join the club.
Right. Not part of the team.
Right. And remember also, our friend.
Oh, you want some pizza, Charles?
Yeah, I'll have what you don't want.
This is the capital of the public health.
Oh, there's more over there, Jason.
Oh, perfect. Oh, the bird is having some. That's a square slice.
Yeah, and if you go to the smoke shop, then you can have your munchies.
Man, everything's out of business over here.
Yeah. Well, you could go to the Turkish Bath, right behind you, and join the 10th Street Church of Christ.
The guy painting the Turkish bath looked up at you with a scowl when you said that.
Yeah, but you will not
So
come-
Trump wasn't in on that scam, and they were very worried about it, and quite possibly this would be why they would initiate all the get Trumpy plans that we have seen for still
Right.
now.
Yeah, and just remember, the other thing, what I was going to make is that in the infamous, when there was January 5th or 6th meeting in the Oval Office, where they were spitballing on what to do about Trump, Trump's a Russian agent, what should we do? It was Joe Biden who said, let's prosecute Trump under the Logan Act.
Right.
That's
Or
in 2000.
Flynn, I thought he wanted to do.
Yeah, Flynn rather, under the Logan Act. And who knows what else was discussed. And of course, we probably will never know, because the presidential records, which are a legally defined term and do include all electronic communications relating to the operation of the government, the classified ones probably you don't have a right to see, but all non-classified information, and maybe some of the stuff that was classified during the HW presidency is no longer classified, because a lot of times they put a date. They say it's classified for 30 years, it's classified
Right.
for 10 years or whatever. So there's probably a lot of very incriminating information against Joe Biden that they had to try to keep from Trump. And they've had to try to keep from the public. And Durham, as a guest, probably has gotten to some of that now. We talked a little bit about the indictment of Sussman. There's a lot of speculation. Some say it's going to end in nothing. Others say, no, it's really, he's on a conspiracy. He's going after a conspiracy, so expect more. We'll wait and see. We don't need to guess on that. It's either going to happen or
Right.
it's not going to happen.
Well, he was already arraigned or something, right? Like, what's going on with any
Oh yeah,
kind
he's pled not guilty and tried
Right.
to post a bond and all that. So, but as I say in the this person Sputnik, look at this garbage. I mean,
Well, it's the public health capital. We've got to.
it's like the same federal government that says, you say inflation is raging. What we're doing when we calculate inflation is we look at all the buckets that go into the calculation, all the elements of it. Anything that inflated, we put that in the garbage.
Right.
And so we just then measure everything else, everything which went down or stayed the same. And when you do it that way, there's no inflation. It's transitory.
I mean, to say that this city is back, and to say that this represents basically the biggest city in the biggest country or most whatever, to say, oh, America's the greatest country in the world. You can say that, but at a certain point, if we're not living up to that, we have no First Amendment.
I think it's the greatest shithole in the world.
That's what I'm saying. This is like one of these women that we see walking down the street wearing yoga pants who weighs 400 pounds, looking in the mirror saying, I look good. No. You gotta...
I feel as if I look good.
Right.
No, this is good. So you have you sit outside.
Well, this is somebody's office. Look at that chair.
And you cook there, but then you have the garbage.
Oh my God.
And more garbage over here, Jason.
Public health capital of the world. I hope these people are enjoying a healthy meal with the trash.
Trash everywhere.
Bill de Blasio, it's like, I've never had a dog, Charles, but everybody says when you have a dog and it craps in the house, maybe this is old school and you're not supposed to do it anymore, but you shove the dog's nose in the crap.
Yeah.
We need Bill de Blasio here and be like, look at it, look at it, look what you did. And shove his nose in it so that he won't do this anymore.
Yes, he'd probably say, I love this. Can I do more of this? At least it's not wet.
My God, and then more U-Hauls and moving trucks I've been seeing. I saw a truck, I tweeted it.
This
It
is
was a
really nice.
Truck that specializes in New York to Florida
One way.
moving, and I was thinking, boy, those guys are busy.
Yeah. So this is the famous St. Mark's Church. It's quite pretty. I
Yeah.
forget what denomination, whether it's Episcopalian or something else. Let's keep walking over to maybe Third, and then we'll go to, or maybe we'll keep going as far as we can this way.
The garbage thing is...
It's out of control.
It's out of control. If he wanted to announce a new initiative and say, starting today, New York is going to become the capital of public health, and we're employing, 10,000 more sanitation workers with federal funds, and you're not going to see garbage. It would become a rarity to see garbage on New York City streets rather than it's paved with garbage. Then he'd be doing something. This guy is the biggest idiot. He's putting on concerts for people who hate him.
I mean, I'm not encouraging this behavior, but in a just world, what would happen? There'd be, what was it? Bruce Wayne in Batman?
Yeah.
Bruce Wayne, the philanthropist, would pay people to come out at night or in the afternoon and collect all this garbage, and then if Bill de Blasio had a country...
Something's wrong here.
What?
Bill de Blasio would do what, Charles?
If Bill de Blasio had a country home, then Bruce Wayne would pay people to pick up all this garbage and drop it in the field around his house until he got the point.
Something is wrong. Oh, there we go. We're back. Drop it at Bill de Blasio's house. I mean, this
and
is...
I'm not encouraging that, by the way.
This is astounding. We always look at the garbage and comment on it, but the fact that he said just this morning that New York City is the public health capital...
He said capital, I think.
...of the world, that's like him saying, I am the smartest, most handsome man.
Whatever. Fuck it. Fuck that.
What is this place? The Cleaners?
Brand on Media.
Oh,
That's you in the back. Creative fucker.
Brand on Media. That's pretty funny.
Yeah, creative fucker.
Wait a second. We did a video for a kid named Brandon who it was his bar mitzvah, and the family had so much money. They paid us to make a 3D movie of the kid, and Brand on was the...
Maybe it's the same thing.
It might be the same guy.
He's going from strength to strength, Jason. Now look,
Well, he'd be
this
25
is actually,
or something now.
this is pretty nice actually right here. Now you notice the garbage is all over here. Oh no, it's over there too. Look at that.
Yeah, I mean, you could look at one little corner and not see garbage, but...
I mean, I know from having lived in the country in an area where around me there were some people who had maybe 5 acres, but many, many parcels were 10, 15, 50, 100 or whatever. Wow. When you're spread out, you get a lot of wildlife. And if you put this kind of stuff out on your property, you wake up in the morning and the raccoons will have just destroyed it. Now, I'm not saying we have raccoons in Manhattan, but we certainly have rats. I see them almost every day.
Right.
And don't tell me you have a major public health problem, but it's okay to leave all this shit all over the place, including the people You see them if we go through a park again. The dog walkers, you know, the dogs walk them, and then they take a dump on wherever in the park, and the people who want to be responsible pick that up, and then into a plastic bag, and they throw it into the trash cans in the middle of the park. So they're filled with dog shit. I mean, come on. And this has got to be.
Yeah, this is very safe right here.
Right. I mean, the person.
Oh, well, they painted it so that. That's a great.
When you
no,
kill
no,
yourself.
No, that looks like the neighborhood put orange tape on there. Because
That's
they
pretty
realized
dangerous.
it was
That's
crazy.
the tree. And that's a long-standing problem. I mean, this has
That's
been like
right.
it's grown into the tree and they haven't fixed it. So obviously, here's a townhouse for sale, Jason.
Just don't walk east.
Oh, wait, actually, this is a pretty big one. Look at this. 112. It's not that big. I thought it went. Looks
Well,
very vacant.
Looks pretty recently renovated.
More what, Jason? And then you got a nice car over there. Somebody had an automatic destroy the front of it system.
Oh man, I don't know, Charles.
And then you've got a nice dumpster over here.
It's covered because they don't want anybody putting garbage in it.
Living in it.
Right, exactly.
You literally saw Ryan Reynolds
Charles, it's very discouraging to walk around and see all this.
Actually, let's go all the way to Grace Church School, which is right there.
Sure,
And then we'll go up to Union Square and over 14th Street.
sure. I'm going to have another episode of High Dive with Lee Stranahan tonight.
What time?
That's going to be at 8:30, so people are going to want to tune in on Subscribestar and Patreon to catch that. Lee is very interested in this revelation that the CIA was planning to assassinate Julian Assange.
And possibly Glenn Greenwald.
What?
Yeah, it's in the story.
Why?
Well, what I read is there was a drop, I think it was called Vault 7.
Yeah.
And Vault 7 revealed, I don't know if it's true, that the
Hacking
CIA,
tools for the CIA.
well, that the CIA has the ability, and who knows who else has the ability, to create emails on the system that make it seem that you sent an email to
From
me
Russia.
or whatever. You just invent an email and put it into the system. Now this is some mega garbage.
It stinks right here.
Yeah.
I mean, this can't be healthy.
And this poor lady, I've seen her around before. She has a business of collecting all these cans.
That can't be healthy.
Well, and then she
It
takes it.
stinks right here.
You think? And then we have this.
It's like make you puke kind of smell.
Right, I do not recall it being this bad
This is
in the
what I
middle
mean.
of the garbage strikes that we used to have in New York.
Right. What the hell is going on? Oh, God.
Bites of John.
I mean,
John.
I think we could find a junkyard that would have less garbage in it than this.
Yeah,
We're living in a garbage pile.
I know. We could live it. What's that song? Living in a Material World by Madonna?
We are living in a garbage pile. So Pompeo, who I think is planning to run for president because he's losing weight and he looks like he's trying to get fit,
Right.
but I don't think he is a good choice for president. I don't trust him. I don't like him.
Well, I think I was discussing this with a mutual friend of ours this morning. Don't want to mention his name, who was trying to defend Pompeo, and I said, listen, you know, if Pompeo truly were a decent man, which I think it's possible that he is, you know, we'll have to wait and see. Well, when he got into the CIA, he should have immediately said, what was Boris Johnson and what were the UK people doing in 15 and 16 with this steel bullshit? Who was doing this? How come we didn't stop this? How come we let this go all the way through the Trump period? And who are the people involved? Let's shit can all of them. Instead of doing that, when time comes for him to leave, he says, you know what? The person who did all that shit, who was the UK station chief, Gina Haspel, let's have her replace me as head of the CIA.
That's so weird. Like that all needs explaining. I mean,
well, again, with me, perhaps it's one of the reasons I retired early. There's no explaining that to me. It's like you're on my shit list for that, you know, and Haspel's on my shit list.
but if Trump runs in 2024 and that remains unexplained, I mean, here's the conundrum I'm in. if it's Biden or Harris, we going this way?
No, we're going. It's Grace Church School. And then we're going up to Union Square.
If it's Biden or Harris, presuming Joe Biden is still alive in 2024, running against Trump, I mean,
I don't think it's either one of them. I mean, Biden is irretrievably burned by his. I mean, you can't tell. I mean, as I keep saying, it's. And I'm sorry to repeat myself. Actually, I'm not sorry.
That's called sorry, not sorry.
Yes, I'm sorry, not sorry. If you're going to lie about a small thing because you don't want to turn a Thanksgiving meal into a food fight, that's okay. But if you lie about exiting a war where a lot of people lives were killed or irretrievably ruined, you can't lie to the American public about why you're doing this and how you did it, yet Biden did that. You can't lie about your spending and taxing policies, which are central, yet Biden's doing that. You can't lie about, that was me years ago, decades ago.
Didn't look like you.
Well, I know. I have pictures of me in Grace Church School, actually, the annual class.
It's a really nice building.
It was originally a school for choristers, founded in 1894 for
what?
People who sang in the choir.
Oh.
And so I entered in 1960. Let me think. What was the year that Kennedy was shot?
1963.
I think I entered in September of '62.
What are they doing in this scene?
I don't know. But this, if you, this is the back of I think the chapel, or no, the church actually, and it's stained glass. You can see
it looks
there.
good.
It's very beautiful, and there's a really touching Christmas. I'm not religious, but there's a very touching Christmas carol, Christmas Eve ceremony every year in the main church, and it really is. If you just want to go and have a fun time with people who are out of town, you'll run into the strangest people. For example, Ken Starr goes.
What?
Yeah, he goes there, and Monica Lewinsky went there as well, and they ran into each other.
Did you?
I didn't.
Wow, what does Monica Lewinsky say to Kenneth Starr?
I think she said something like, "What were you thinking?" As if.
I think she separately made some commentary that the whole thing has basically ruined her life, like she hasn't been able to.
Again, you make choices. There's another person. She was apparently. It was just in the New York Post. There's another person whose husband was cheating on her with another man. So her husband was cheating on her with another woman of around her age, call it in the 30s, but also with Monica Lewinsky, age 19. And this book recounts how when she'd already been cheating with one married man, that she made the comment when she was going to Washington, D.C., that she was going to Washington, D.C., quote, to earn her presidential knee pads before she got there.
To earn the presidential, she said that?
Yeah, it's according to the book.
She went there with the plan to do that.
Well, there's a lot of, I have never spoken to her and don't want to speak to her, but there's a lot written on the subject, and there's a lot of speculation that she targeted Clinton. I mean, it was an easy mark. But
somebody said something about her being Mossad, but that sounds like she's Jewish, so let's just say she's Mossad.
Well, I do think. Here's what I think on that topic. As you like to talk about these limited hangouts, they want to focus on, was Bill Clinton having physical, intimate relations with Monica Lewinsky around the time that they arranged for Monica to get the job, and around the time that Monica lied under oath and Bill lied under oath in a legal proceeding. And you can't do that. You really destroy the remaining integrity of the legal process.
Particularly if you're the president.
Right. And so they say, well, actually Bill and Monica ceased all physical contact a long time before that. That's not even true. She went in the Oval Office December 28th, 1997, and they hugged and kissed, and who knows what really happened. The real exposure, I think, I think the real exposure is the phone sex.
What do you mean? Why?
Because that could be tape recorded, and that could be used. I mean, Bill Clinton gets on a roll talking about what he wants done to him and what he would like to do to her.
Yeah, he's not wanting that going all over the place.
And you don't want 7 years
Right.
ago versus
Put that in the Clinton library.
I'm thinking of you now as I do this. Are you doing that? Whatever. And as a guess, multiple foreign governments got those tapes. And as a further guess, this is when the Clinton team was fighting hard then and afterwards to get Clinton a Nobel Peace Prize for forging peace in the Middle East. And they had ideas on Team Clinton that were hostile to Israel. So it would not shock me in the slightest that elements either of the Israeli government or close to the Israeli government somehow got their hands on those tapes and were using them as leverage in negotiation. And remember, Ehud Barak was in government then and was very active with Epstein afterwards.
Yeah, buddies with Epstein.
Yeah. So it would not surprise me in the slightest that those tapes, if they do exist, are extremely dangerous for Bill Clinton's reputation and very useful in pushing the Clintons around to get what you want.
But doesn't he not care about that at this point? Wouldn't he just say, "Oh, that happened years ago"?
No, I know, but 20 plus years ago, he cared about it a lot.
Right.
He hadn't paid off his debts. His wife now expected to get these mansions, expected to be a senator, expected to live large.
Right.
You can't have all this stuff coming out.
Screwing that all up.
Exactly. So here we are in
Union Square, Charles.
Is there there's no protest today, I
Best
guess.
Buy is still in business. That's
Yeah, I mean,
good.
it's kind of tough to compete. Let's say you were a bookseller. Kind of tough to compete against this. A bookseller over here pays rent and taxes. A bookseller over here pays.
Well, but they don't have really good books, I don't think.
A lot of times-
Strand is right over there.
Right, I'm just saying, but a lot of times I have found bargains in places like that because I know what a first edition
Right.
looks like. And
And the person selling them probably doesn't.
sometimes they don't. They're just trying to get as much cash as quickly as possible.
What is this, soup?
Shea butter. I don't think that's something. Oh look, is that Martin Luther King or what is that?
Oh yeah, look at those giant heads. What's going on over there?
Well, let's check it out.
Maybe Thor Heyerdahl is doing something. That woman had movie theater popcorn.
Really?
I guess the movie theater is back.
Oh, I think it's probably open.
Well, there's a big strike coming from all the Hollywood unions. All of my old IATSE buddies.
IATSE sounds like something you better be vaccinated for.
Well, it sounds like something that took $19,000 from me and never did anything, even when I called them and said, hey, some non-union guy is taking my job on whatever that Wizard of Oz movie with James Franco was. And they were like, yeah, we're not going to do anything about that. I was like, what the hell did I give you the $19,000 for?
It's like, because they needed it.
Right. I hate that union. They should go to hell. And by the way, they're using the rainbow Marxist fist in the air as their sign of solidarity for the strike, which I also object to.
Yeah, I have little interest in going to a movie theater at this point. I have to say, I've watched The Equalizer and The Equalizer 2 and The Equalizer, I think, 3 about as many times as it's sort of fun, especially if you've had a day.
Still hasn't equaled it out yet.
No, he tends to equalize things.
Oh, he does?
Oh, yeah. More than equalize.
Isn't it,
You should call it the pulverizer.
isn't it, what's his name?
Denzel.
Yeah, Denzel Washington.
Yeah.
He's a good actor, but he's a little bit kind of always just,
The same guy.
yeah, pissed off dad who's a cop. Now, wait a minute. What do we have here? That's that guy
John
who
Lewis
just
has
died.
died. John Lewis died a while back, right?
It was like a year ago now.
Yeah.
Let's go look at the giant heads.
Is that Michelle? Who is that? Breonna Taylor. Oh, this is going to be a Black Lives Matter thing.
Let's keep our eyes out for the troublemakers.
Yeah, let's-
It should be back now.
Good. So that's the kind of. I
I
mean,
don't
here.
know what we missed there, Charles.
Well, I mean, here we're still. Now we're in Union Square Park, which back in the late
Turns
'70s.
it upside down.
Hmm?
It's this new software is having some sort of an issue that prevents me from getting into selfie mode, but
But we're on.
we're on now.
Yeah. So this park and several other parks, Madison Park, which we're going to come to in a bit. I guess we'll go up Broadway. Right?
Sorry, what?
We'll just go up Broadway and then.
Sure.
But this was pretty much derelict. just a dirt place, and it had been a place at night where people would shoot up heroin, and the city didn't have any money to maintain it, so it just went filled with garbage and everything.
Hey, that's a new section right there.
Yeah,
Didn't that used to be the dog run?
something Union Square Partnership. Yeah,
Someone's
it's nice.
burning.
Well, it's nice to sit in there next to the guy with a pile of garbage. And pile of garbage, kids playing. I'm sorry, you just shouldn't be allowed to do that. If you want to tell me that there's no pandemic, then I'm going to say to you, okay, fine. If you want to have garbage everywhere, you can have
Even
garbage.
then you shouldn't have it.
Right, I'm just saying. I mean, I'm bouncing around a bit here, but on genealogy, my father recently celebrated his 95th birthday. We're not going to say exactly when, but recently. Good for him.
Congratulations.
Deeply into genealogy and history. And we have these letters back from one member of the family who went out to California in 1849, sent a whole bunch of letters home. And those are now in something called the Society of California Pioneers. And they've been transcribed. And others, it turns out, who were out at the same time have also written. And what they tell about that one of the greatest sources of illness and death was cholera.
Right.
That people didn't understand that you shouldn't eat where you, whatever.
Well,
and that's in essence what we're doing.
having right here, right.
You know, and you'll give the folks out in California, let's get away from this guy.
Which guy?
You can photograph it, but I mean, the guy's going like this.
Screaming and yelling.
And here we have
Look at that thing.
the Scusa.
It's like a lowrider. Is that electric? Electric? I haven't seen one of those before, Charles. I have seen that lady singing before.
It's like every Broadway show.
But if people like that style, she's pretty good.
Oh boy. I would literally pay for the privilege of not going to a show like that.
Yeah, I don't like Broadway shows.
I don't like the lines, I don't like the tiny seats, I don't like the crowds, the fire trap.
The seats are small, right?
Yeah, and in general,
I guess those theaters were built at a time when people's derrieres were smaller.
right, but I mean, for me, every single musical is exactly the same. I'm one of these people who cannot I got whatever that deficiency is, musicalitis. I can't tell the difference.
They're racist against musicals.
It has nothing to do with race. It has everything to do. I'm a noisist. I don't like
Exactly.
noise. So here we are on Broadway. Broadway's back. Here's some dumpsters. There's some garbage. There's
Yeah.
more garbage over there. See that pile of garbage up there?
Yes.
Canisters of garbage.
Yeah.
There's a 5 on it.
It's just astounding how there's
Let's get.
so much garbage around.
And I believe this area is not cheap. I mean, it's cheaper than
No, not
at
at all.
peak. But this is thought to be a lot of the buildings here that have been turned into renovated condos or co-ops have high ceilings and big layouts that you don't get on 2nd and 3rd Avenue in rental apartments. And there's also, even now, there are not as many stores, but there's an interesting mixture of stores and restaurants and things to do. And it is possible, actually, if you work near here, it's possible to walk to work. So
Yeah. But there's just place after place. I think that was Equinox.
there,
I think
881. One of them was Brooks Brothers, I think. The Brooks Brothers knockoff.
Oh, no,
But
that
there's
was
Equinox.
That was Dwayne Reed. Yeah.
That was Brooks Brothers. I thought.
Maybe that was Brooks Brothers.
But,
Equinox is still there?
and there's some AMC, Jason. Snap up a whole bunch of stock.
Stonks, the last dude, the last duel.
Who was that about again? It's Ridley Scott.
Oh yeah, I saw something about that. It's about Matt Damon having a scar on his face. I don't know what it's about.
But which duel was it?
I have no idea. Maybe Aaron Burr.
Ridley Scott.
Who was doing? Whoa, that dog is like flipping jumping around. Did you see that?
I think it's a pretty young dog, right?
The guy's like pulling it by the neck. Dinner. Oh my God, look at that garbage. Charles, the streets of New York City are filled with garbage and obnoxious assholes.
You know what we could do? Create a new award system. You know, best street where the stores are out and the garbage is flowing.
Yeah, but it can't be a crony award or I'll get sued.
No, it could be called, I don't know what.
Crappy award.
A crappy. That's what we could call it. We could call up Collace and those different things that advertise on Fox and My Pillow.
Here's something new coming in, Mediterranean Grill.
That'll last about a month.
It's very strange to me that people are opening businesses in New York City now. And I spoke to somebody who said they want to move to New York. Actually, a friend of mine from college wants to move back from Tennessee.
Bottom of his or her class?
It's a very, very nice guy, but he would admit he's not a very academically
kind of took
oriented.
7 years to get through the 4-year program.
Well, he got through on time, but the film and acting programs at NYU were not academically challenging.
And nonetheless, he got a C average, or?
I don't know what his average was, but the point is he was talking to me and he wanted to, he graduated. He wants to move back to New York, and I was like, well,
is he in the business, or is he?
I think he's just frustrated with life in Tennessee, and he moved there as a result of a bunch of circumstances that weren't necessarily his direct choices.
Let's go here for a second. We've got somebody on our tail.
Not too happy about it.
Just moving at high speed, yakking.
Yeah. Well, so I don't know. What do we think is going to happen with Mark Milley? And I mean, it just seems like a lot of talk is going on, and the only thing that's happening is they keep locking down more. And
so long as the United States is in a situation where you can fill up your car and you can feed your family.
10 cents a gallon tax, 10 cents a mile tax. That's crazy, isn't it?
It is. Pete Buttigieg. It's just the founders actually explicitly set the Constitution up so that you could not have an income tax. They knew that this had been tried under various kings. And so they knew the second you give a government the ability to raise unlimited amounts of money, they're going to do it.
Yeah.
And you can call it whatever you want, but they'll figure a way just to get more money because they always want more money for their crazy-ass programs.
Right.
And you can see that if you follow math. You can look into the state papers in England, and you can see that the cost to Queen Elizabeth and later to James I of pacifying Ireland. That's a polite way of saying what they did. They slaughtered the Irish to take control. 928?
That's my original 21st Century 3D office way back.
Where's the plaque?
Well, it was a
Should
different.
be,
somebody bought the building since we left.
Jason Goodman began his
When
career.
we moved out of here, it actually is when it changed to 21st Century 3D. It was, well, no, we were 21st Century 3D there because it was 2001. It was after September 11th that I moved out of there because the rent was going up like crazy and we were having no business. And I left that office because they wouldn't make a deal with me on the rent, and the guy on the west side did.
No, you should have asked for a government contract.
They weren't doing that. They were not giving out money to people when 9/11 happened. I mean, that was no business at all for months.
That's I think that's spelled G-U-B-M-I-N-T, government.
They didn't give me any money.
No governments?
They were spending it all, blowing up Afghanistan.
Somebody being filmed there. I don't know who that is.
Yeah, I can't really see from
Probably you see across the street.
Yeah, I see the light and the woman.
Price.
I think I've seen her before, and I think it's Spanish television or something. She generally hangs out around here.
Yeah, that looks right. It's a small setup. Just one little light there.
This was a different approach to the building.
Oh, this thing is out. What was this?
I forget.
That was like a cell phone store, I think.
I was going to be, I might have been even the first owner of an apartment in this building.
Yeah.
Definitely fresh.
Look, more moving trucks.
You think they're moving in? I don't think so. They're
You
going-
moving somebody? You guys moving in or out?
You moving
guys
in or
moving
out?
us in or out? Out, moving out?
Stay safe.
Moving out, Charles.
Yeah. Moving on out.
That looks like a greyhound.
It's a big dog.
But he's like an old one.
I think maybe you should do a channel teaching an old dog new tricks or something like that. You could.
You can't do it. But I think you can adopt greyhounds from the racetrack.
Is that right? You can't buy them?
Well, I mean, I think something bad happens to them after they can't race, so people adopt them. Like either they're all, messed up from racing, or they get killed when they can't race anymore.
Well, maybe. I mean, they're used to running around at however fast a greyhound runs. And you say you can't run anymore. Why don't you live in the studio apartment? And
they hate it. Yeah. You could train them to play highlight. That'd be the best. Bet on the dog race and highlight.
But you see that story that I think a hamster was trading
Betting
crypto
better on cryptocurrency.
Out traded a real trader on cryptocurrency.
I don't think
How the
there is
hamster,
such a thing as a real trader on cryptocurrency.
But how the hamster actually made the decision to buy. You think that hamster was glued to Fast Money and CNBC and Fox Business, reading Barron's and Wall Street
It's
Journal?
like tapping on water versus food.
It's like, give me another. What do hamsters eat anyway?
I saw a video this morning of a cat that could speak sign language to its deaf owner. It just basically put its paw on its mouth, and that made give me food.
So that was a precocious cat? My cat.
It was
It's
cute.
very advanced. Definitely on track to get a Harvard law degree.
There is a gorilla that they taught to speak sign language that has kind of a fairly large vocabulary.
You're not talking about Biden, right? By the way, did you see the picture of Biden's arm when he took the jab?
No, what happened?
It is pretty damn hairy.
Oh, well, it stands up in the pool and the kids can play with it and he learns about roaches like that. How did that speech make sense?
I know. I hope we still have a country 20 years from now. People look back on this period and they'll look at these transcripts and they'll have it show. He said what?
Yeah.
No, he really did. It'll be like a prize show where they'll have a statement up there and
Decide if he actually said it?
If he actually said it, and you'll have to,
Or if that's just comedy.
Yeah.
Well, I think we're almost done for today, Charles.
Good.
Yeah.
Nice long show.
Yeah, that's been a decent run right there. And I got to figure out this problem with not being able to get the wide-angle lens or the selfie lens. But we'll be back at 8:30 tonight with Lee Stranahan for High Dive with Lee Stranahan. Yeah, that should be about
Joe.
Well, I was going to think of what's his name.
Fauci.
Kevin is texting me. They're going to do some sit-in over there. I don't know. That was a strange little encounter.
Sit-in where?
I don't know. He said Joe is about to do a sit-in.
Where?
I guess maybe where we just were. I like and support them, but I think we've gotten to a point where my presence at those things is more likely to agitate some of the particular Antifa and BLM supporters that we've seen, and to keep everybody there, most importantly me, safe.
Right.
I've been kind of staying away. I also think it was more important, Charles, you and I were giving those guys publicity when nobody knew about them.
Right.
And now it's gotten big enough that I don't think me broadcasting it really has much impact beyond.
Does this look like a public health problem to you?
This looks like the public health capital of 23rd Street, 25th Street.
4th Street. Hey, look at that.
Did you hear that GM told owners of the Chevy Volt?
Didn't they rename it the Dolt?
Well, they told you not to park it within 50 feet of other cars because it might catch on fire.
Oh, that's good. But keep it in your garage.
Garage, right.
Sorry.
Or a lot of garbage.
Sorry about that.
That's okay. Pet Smart. Oh, wait, is this a Brinks truck? Yeah, no, we haven't actually spoken enough about or heard enough about this stupidity that Cuomo did where he granted pardon or clemency to Chesa Boudin's father, who was involved in the murder of the Brinks truck driver in 1981. Not in Yonkers, but somewhere in Westchester.
We can cross so we don't go.
Okay, sure.
In,
But what do we know about that, Charles?
Well,
Chesa Boudin's father.
it's pretty tough to say that you're a patriot and that you were in favor of the Revolutionary War, and then say, but that you should only advocate peacefully. You shouldn't, right? You can't on the one hand say, well, our country was born in revolution, where English subjects shot English soldiers to obtain freedom from England. That's okay.
But these guys were just robbing a bank.
No, I understand. So I'm just beginning by saying there's a fundamental contradiction between what people in power say and what are the people who brought this country together. But the way you square it, I think, is that the injustices that were perpetrated upon the colonists, the British colonists on America, on American soil, were about what we're going through now. You know, gross abuses of the law, enrichment of
You mean
friends.
the king was
Yeah. So the conditions that Boudin and the Lebanon were protesting are nowhere similar to the abuses of the English king. And those supposed abuses are not ones that where you should be doing what they did, blowing up a Brinks driver, blowing up buildings, etc. Yet here Cuomo pardons, and Bill Clinton, you know, there's limited hangout. Let's focus on Mark Rich and Green, and let's ignore Susan Rosenberg and many others that Clinton pardoned.
FALN.
Yeah, many other really bad folk. Instead of focus on that, we focus on the rich guys who fled the country and may have paid through Denise Rich for the privilege of getting the pardon. We focus on that story so Bill doesn't have to explain really tough stuff he should explain. And this pardon power, there are many flaws, I think, in the Constitution. One is that it was envisioned for a country that was going to be agricultural, you know, where the people who were managing their lives were subject to the whims of wind and weather. And
We're getting a lot of static over here, Charles.
whenever you want to stop, we'll stop.
I think it's letting up.
But so the founders envisage the idea that at the very top of the country there would be humble, intelligent, law-abiding people at the top of government, which certainly is not the case in 2021.
Right.
Show me one humble member of the Biden cabinet. I mean, this is a cabinet that should be fucking humble.
I could
Because
take
it's-
somebody who's not humble if they were abiding by the law. Look at this lady in her BMW encroaching on the crosswalk as we try to cross. Go back to Jersey.
Again, put a license plate on the front of your car because you're supposed to do that.
Does she not have one?
Does not. Let's see the back of her car.
Well, she's definitely from Jersey then. How did I call that without even seeing the license plate? Shit.
Well, to be fair to her, she probably, ignorance of the law is no excuse, I know, but she probably doesn't know the crosswalk law, because I'm pretty certain there's no such law in New Jersey.
Well, that's why I knew she was from New Jersey, because people from New Jersey drive around like they have cars, get out of the way.
Oh, I know. Wow, that is a
anyway,
monument.
The agriculture.
So the fact that your assets are tied up in a farm, which could disappear tomorrow in bad weather, or crops which could, tends to change the way you view yourself. You realize that there are forces out there, even if you're not religious, that are more powerful than ordinary
Absolutely.
men and women, and so you're more humble and respectful. And they did not envisage that government itself would become the biggest industry in America. And that nobody would be able to regulate it. They certainly didn't envisage that. Nor did they envisage a country that would become, where they would say that in order to keep world peace, and who asked you to do that, but in order to keep world peace, we better have troops in 150 countries. I mean, that was never the idea behind America.
We're so far away from what we're supposed to be.
I know. Nice and quiet over here before dark.
Well, that's what happens when everything goes out of business.
Yeah, maybe we have some teach-ins. Maybe the Clinton Foundation should move down here, and Bill could start his original idea, the Global Anti-Poverty Initiative.
Right.
It's like, you know, sanitation engineer versus garbage man. My idea to pay off my debts is to create an anti-debt initiative, and that's a charity.
You know,
Ridiculous.
if they could figure out some way to turn garbage into energy, why aren't they spending a ton of effort on
There's
that?
one. Make money in your sleep.
How do you do that?
You steal it during the day, and you sleep on it. warning, this is not a job.
I don't know.
100% automated.
I don't know. Why would he
Does
need
this-
to advertise that to other people if it was so good?
Sounds like a complete scam.
I agree with that.
That's right. Scam I Am. The new book by Dr. Seuss.
Well, we're almost out of runway here, Charles, so
All
I
right.
think perhaps it might be time to
Jump into
bid
the-
our viewers adieu.
All right. Have a dew or two, a Mountain Dew.
See you later en français. So yeah, don't forget High Dive with Lee Stranahan on subscribestar.com/crowdsourcethetruth and patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth and patreon.com/Stranahan. I'll be back at 8:30 tonight. I got to figure out what's going on with this new switcher software, but thanks for tuning in, everybody. Have a